Miss Avarna Jain. And I'm just going to begin with the question right away. So, as a vice chairperson of Saregama and RPSG Lifestyle Media, you exemplify how creative and media IPs can serve as a powerful economic engines for India's growth. Could you share how this vision originated and how do you see it evolving in the future?
So, Supriya, when the Wave Summit happened last year, Modi ji said very clearly that the orange economy is something that we should focus on. And the reason is that the orange economy or the creative economy contributes tremendously to not only India's GDP but to the global GDP. They are saying by 2030 it'll contribute over 10% to global GDP, which is a huge number. And when you create IPs out of creativity or culture, you are able to actually use your creativity as capital. And I think that is where the genesis of this idea came from. And, as Sanjeev ji was saying earlier, he was sitting there and we were talking about how India has a lot of creativity, it has a lot of culture, it has a lot of ideas. I mean, we have billion plus population. So billion plus population, billion plus ideas. But what we don't do is we don't package it, we don't market it, and we don't brand it. I think that's where we fall short. And the moment we're able to do that, I think we can actually use this capital, create jobs, and generate wealth.
And how are you leveraging these ideas for science?
Well, I think firstly, we're trying to break global barriers. I'm sure you're familiar with for example, the Diljit Dosanjh concerts that we organized. Now, these were sellouts not just in India, but globally in every country that we've organized it. Then you see this cross-cultural collaboration happening. You saw, let's say, there was Arijit Singh with Ed Sheeran, and things like that are beginning to happen in the music and entertainment space. You see films that are made with some of our top actors going and working with Hollywood people and vice versa. So I think these are all cross-cultural collaborations that are happening that is only going to help this creative space.
And for RPG Lifestyle Media, you're publishing international titles. How does it go with Create in India philosophy?
Very interesting question. So, the thought behind bringing some of these international titles to India was that a lot of these titles are almost a century old. Some are 80 years old, 90 years old. So they actually have honed their practices. So they have these world-class ways of functioning and practices. And if we can take that and create something that's Indian at heart, I think you have a win-win situation. So if you look at, for example, the recently launched Rob Report, what we did over there was our first 3 covers were as Indian as it can get. They featured Indian royalty, they featured Indian carpets, they featured Indian artifacts. Luxury to India is not an alien concept. It's a well-known, it's part of our DNA. And I think it's time that we grab luxury by its horns and show to the world, the glory that India is missing today.
Okay. And what about Hollywood Reporter? Hollywood Reporter, Esquire, and Rob Report. You publish a wedding forward magazine called Manifest. Tell us your vision for that magazine.
So this is a vision that's very, very close to my heart, really. I've always as a child, when we were brought up, we were always allowed, and I can't say allowed, but we used to ask a lot of questions. So, your grandparents would say, you need to do this or you need to do that. And the question always was why. And the moment you get the answer, there's almost no debate left, because most of the Indian traditions, or many of them at least, are based in science. And that's what I want to do with a large part of Manifest. Yes, it's wedding focused, it has an element of luxury, but it also has a section called Sanskar 101, which is teaching the world and teaching the kids today why we do what we do. So if there is a healthy ceremony, what is the logic behind it? What was the science behind it back in the day? And then you can decide, is it relevant in today's world or not? But if you don't know the logic, then it's simply a tradition. But if you know the logic and the science behind it, you can choose to do it. And trust me, most people, when they understand the logic for these things, always choose to do it.
Most definitely. I completely agree with that. And how do you think this helps the orange economy or the creative economy?
Oh, I think this can all So I mean, if you've noticed suddenly you go to different parts of the Western world, whether it's New York and LA, and you'll see these yoga centers popping up. Suddenly, Ayurveda has become this buzzword. But for us Indian, these are very normal concepts. I mean, you've been doing yoga since you were born, and you've been doing, practicing some Ayurvedic practice, whether it's Jal Niti or Pranayam or, it's the most normal thing. But what we don't always do is package it. And the need of the hour is to package these things and market them to the world. If we're able to do that, not just with things like Ayurveda, but even our creative strength that we have, as they rightly pointed out in the keynote addresses, these crazy number of art forms, crazy number of, fashion forms, whether they're different weaves, different parts of India have different weaves, different, whether it's the Kanjivaram or the Banarsi, or whether you have different techniques of batik and bandhani. We're not packaging it. If we can find a way to package it, I think India's art, India's beauty, India's talent is unmatched.
Like the turmeric latte.
Exactly.
And also the jackfruit pizza that the US...
Absolutely. I think it's absolutely... there was a time when another country wanted to put a patent on the turmeric latte, on haldi,
Clarified butter is another.
Exactly. Ghee coffee, how you put ghee in your
Mm-hmm.
coffee and have that. I think it's... There were certain things that Indians, like I mentioned when I spoke earlier, India almost teaches the world how to live. If we can find a way to package that, I think we've hit home run.
Even for that matter, sustainability. I think India teaches a lot about sustainability within the creative sector as well. And the world has a lot to learn, from our environment-friendly rituals that we've been grown up with, Yeah.
You're absolutely right, Supriya. With sustainability, eating on a banana leaf was the most normal thing. You're steaming an idli, you're using a banana leaf. You're all kinds of things you're wearing on your wedding day. You're wearing an heirloom sari which your grandmother wore or your mother wore. What is all this? It's all sustainability. Suddenly it's becoming cool, but if that's the need of the hour for sustainability to become cool and then people follow it, so be it. But for us, it's not new, it's not alien, it's not a Western concept. It's very much a part of being Indian.
And that's the reason I think we've also taken it for a ride. We don't brand and package it because it's so much around us that we've not really consciously thought about branding and marketing. But I think it's like the need of the hour to capitalize on our creativity and culturally rooted heritage, Okay, so last question that I have for you is, how do you see India's influence expanding on the global stage as we begin to export more of our creative ideas?
So I think India's influence is slowly but surely expanding in every aspect. Like I said, you'll suddenly see a yoga center, you'll see an Ayurvedic practitioner, you see Indian brands in terms of even fashion brands popping up all over. You have today a Sabyasachi who started from the gullies of Calcutta, who has a store in New York. You have, Gaurav Gupta who started here in Delhi, who's showcasing at Paris Fashion Week. These were not things that were very common earlier on. So the world is waking up to India's soft power today. And I think if, as a country, we put our mind to it, in less than a decade, I think we'll be a force to reckon with.
Is there something you think we should be doing about exporting our own creative industries more than what we already are doing?
I think we already spoke about it, just packaging and branding. So there are a few people who have the exposure, the ability to think out of the book who are doing this, but the general masses are not yet doing it. If we can give them the tools to do that, I think then we have a winning formula.
Okay, thank you so much, Avarna.
Supriya, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Why did you start the Creative Economy Forum?
Why did I start? So, before starting it, I already had like 15 years of experience with Cine Darbar in terms of working with several embassies on cultural diplomacy project. So I would strategically build programs for people-to-people ties and done a lot of marquee events like 40th Diplomatic Year with India and Japan, with Korea and with Singapore. And I've been doing a lot of curatorial programs. And then when COVID hit, I was sort of in isolation, doing a lot of writing work. And I just wanted to sort of get back. When G20 was announced, I was very keen that Culture 20 dialogue should start. So we have several wings under G20, and Culture 20 wasn't a wing. Although I think previously culture was celebrated in another country, but India didn't have. So I sort of initiated it, shopped around, and went to several government departments, got support, and thought it would be like a one-off event. But we are here with season 3, and I'm glad we are continuing every year. So
that's a fascinating journey. Thanks for sharing that, Supriya.
Thank you.